Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
And so you asked a question recently on Facebook, who were the role models in Irish society, particularly young role models or older ones, particularly as well, for young people today. Okay?
Yes.
So we've done quite an extensive search on the groups and people. This is what came back. So there's 86 people that are nominees, and I'm going to read each one of them out.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about 27 of those.
Correct.
Okay, it's quite exhaustive, but we'll do it anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first up, Katie Taylor, Katie Ascough, Jacinta Prunty, Michael Smurfit, Chuck Feeney, Sister Consillio, the Capuchin priest Father Sean Donoghue, Senator Ronan Mullin, David Quinn, Danny and Michael Rae, David and Stephen Flynn of the Happy Pair, Bob Geldof, Miriam O Rourke, the Rubber Bandits, TJ Reid, Michael Flatley, Brendan O Connor, Conor McGregor, Peader Toibin, Bressie, Micheál Martin, Bertie Ahern, JP McManus, Michael O'Leary, Dermot Desmond, Pat McDonagh, Sean Gallagher, Ben Dunn, Brody Sweeney, Peter Casey, Brendan Gleeson, Saoirse Ronan, Daniel Day-Lewis, Enya, Sinead O Connor, Hosier, Gavin Friday, Philip Tracy, Paul Costello, Gabriel Byrne, Tommy Tiernan, Fergal Quinn, PJ Gallagher, Sam Bennett, Catherine Corliss, Sister Stanlis Kennedy, Michael D Higgins, Sister Eileen Fahey, Mary Robinson, Shane McGowan, Miriam O Callaghan, Tyson Fury, Roy Keane, Andy Lee, Denis O Brien, Brian Cowan, Pat Kenny, James Leonard, Lynn Ruan, Cindy Joyce, Adi Roach, Christina Nobel, Eileen Flynn, Ben Scallon, Herman Kelly, Gemma O'Doherty, Dr. Nora Patton, Glenn Hazard, Liam Neeson, Dickie Rock, Twink, Bono, Adam Clayton, Bertie Ahern, Pierce Doherty, Daniel O'Donnell, Mary McAleese, Father Peter McVerry, Jedward, Graham Norton, Christy Moore, Ardal O'Hanlon, Dara O'Brien, John Connors, David, we mentioned him already, the Happy Pair, and finally people for a joke, they put in Fungi the Dolphin and Bosco, and someone else mentions that a person's parents should be their role models. So there we go, so we're going to discuss those. There's 27 of them we've kind of shortlisted that were more prominent in their mentioning. There was one particular one that's the winner. That person was mentioned constantly in all the groups, and she got lots of likes. It's a girl, it's the winner, but we'll mention that in a few minutes. But we'll go through them anyway. We'll go through all the different ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor is she's a boxer. She's achieved international success. She's fantastic, and she was brought up as a Pentecostalist by her mother.
In Bray, yes.
Yeah, and what is a Pentecostalist? It's a Protestant.
Well, it's a Protestant. It might be a kind of because there's over 30,000 Protestant denominations, and whatever you're having yourself type of thing. So the Pentecostals would be a kind of a stricter type of outfit, and so they would be probably no alcohol and this type of thing, which is a good thing, and other aspects. So at least they believe in Jesus and God, and but they wouldn't. They'd have belief systems that wouldn't be the same as being a Catholic, which is more universal.
Okay, so Katie Ascough.
Yeah. Katie Ascough was a marvellous person. She was the former president of the Students' Union in UCD, University College Dublin. She was quite good. But of course she was pro-life and a good Catholic. But she was good at her job, and she got advice about in the magazine about not putting in about abortion, and because she did that. The atheists and anti-Catholic bigots in that university conspired to have her removed. But she was honoured subsequently in London and got a great honour for what she stood for. Lord Alton was one of them involved in that, and it was publicised in the Catholic Times, and I did a video about it at the time, supporting her attitude. And she's a marvellous example of what a young person like her is a staunch Catholic and not afraid to speak out about her beliefs.
It's funny enough because Katie Ascough, that video still to this day remains to be your most popular video. I think it has over 4,000 views or something.
I'm not surprised because I admired her, and to think that a young person like her, a very good looking girl, and I think she's engaged now to be married, whether she's got married since or what I don't know, but and her mother, her parents must have been great practicing Catholics. I think her mother has a programme in one of the radio stations like Radio Maria. She has a couple of hours on that, so she was brought up and she followed the pattern, because sometimes children that have parents that practice the Catholic faith often go astray because of the company they mix with. But Katie is a lovely girl.
Okay, we spoke about Jacinta Prunty before. Jacinta Prunty wrote a really, really well-researched book. Is it 2,000 or 3,000 pages?
It is. It's quite a large book, and in defence of the nuns, which have been pilloried by the secular media, and the secular government, especially that former children's minister Zappone, who would be anti-Catholic from her very bones. And so the like of those people will find fault where no fault exists. The nuns provided a great service for abandoned children when nobody else would look after them, and they did a great job and they were treated very well. But they made out when the county council in Galway vandalised, if you like, where the children were buried and put in some tank, and then they made out that the nuns had something to do with that, which is a lie.
So Jacinta Prunty gets a thumbs up, and anybody should, if it wants the truth in that story, should buy the book. It's a very, very large book, and you'll need a lot of time to read. It is, yeah. Michael Smurfit is a very interesting one. He's donated millions to universities in Ireland. He also donated the Anna Olivia water fountain at a cost of £1 million in 1986. That was vandalised.
You're talking about, that's worth about 30 million now. So he did a great job, but unfortunately the media that we have in this country is not fit for purpose, and they ridiculed it and abused it. And now if you look at O'Connell Street, it no more represents what it was when Michael Smurfit did that marvellous civic act, and didn't get any thanks for it. Mm-hmm. So you've only got to look at O'Connell Street now compared to what it was. It's a disgrace. With a steel monstrosity in the middle of the street, completely unrepresentative of the country and voted on by deluded councillors.
So Chuck Feeney built the university in Limerick. He's given away billions. He was an Irish American, and he made his money from, I think it was duty free. I think later on he had problems. He was kind of taken over or something by people who mismanaged the funds or something.
Correct. It was taken over by people that absolutely did the opposite of what he stood for. He was a marvellous benefactor of good causes, not least at university in Limerick now, which is quite good and very successful. Okay. I remember even when it started. But it was taken over by evil people, and they have destroyed the marvellous reputation that Chuck Feeney started off with.
We're saying that the fund that he started was eventually taken over by evil people. That's what we're saying. We're not saying that the university was taken over by evil people.
Oh, no. I made that distinction very clear there, I hope.
Yeah, okay.
No, he did a lot of good. And but then other people infiltrated his organisation, as they do in many a place, and then destroy it with their
So they basically what they done was they came along, they infiltrated his philanthropy basically, because I mean his idea was to give away billions, and he did until suddenly he hit an iceberg when a group of people came into the organisation, and then they misguided or misdirected the funds. So that's what I heard.
Correct, yeah.
Don't know the full story, but anyway, Sister Consillio.
She was a great person, and I don't hear much about her now, but she started a rehabilitation centre for drug addicts and alcoholics and that type of person. And and they were able to go for a few months or weeks or whatever it might be to try and plant the seed of repentance, and that they would change their ways, because their ways was very self-destructive. So she has done marvellous good in rescuing people like that, because I come across them in my life, and they were a great credit to what Sister Consillio had done for them.
David and Stephen Flynn, the happy pair, you know them, or did you?
I do. They were from Greystones, and I knew their father, John Flynn. He had a supermarket there and was very successful. I did great business, and I supplied him with a great amount of stuff. And then when the multiples took over more than the independent stores, he still was going on and still running it, but not quite to the same extent. But he did very well and supported Irish products. He certainly supported me. And it was Irish products that I sold in the dog food end of it and all the rest of it. And by goodness, he did a power of business. And his sons would have been reared in that business, and they would have been kind of entrepreneurs. And they're the boys that have this, they have a fruit and veg shop in Greystones, and then they branched out into sort of producing food. The happy pair, and they're in some of the supermarkets. They're in SuperValu. I'm not sure if they're in any of the foreign stores, the like of Lidl and Aldi and Tesco and these ones, but they're certainly in Irish ones, and I've come across them, and their products are quite good.
They are indeed, and the thing about it is they've also published a few books, cookery books. And
yeah, exactly, and so you have to admire them, but I know where they come from, and I actually know even where they live.
I just think, I mean, I've been over there, and I think that shop you were talking about that belonged to John Flynn, I think that's the restaurant now that they created, right? And what I noticed about it is you got a lot of clean living kids in the area. These two boys are very clean living, and they're setting a very good example, because when you see people going there, you see gangs of people and they're drinking these healthy drinks that the happy pair are making. So
exactly,
it's very, very good.
Yeah. Well, they were reared well. John was a very nice man, and he had a brother there that was the store man, and then he got an off-licence in a grocery store in Dunleary, and I did business with him also. Not as much, but he died, and I don't know about John is still alive, but I know that his brother died that had an off-licence and a grocery shop in Dunleary, and did very well. They were from Leitrim, and I know where they were from because I grew up in Boyle, Kendoris Common, and I knew where they were from, so we had a lot in common.
Very good. I don't think that... Is there anybody in Ireland you don't know?
Well, I know that neck of the woods.
Oh, very good. Peader Toibin.
Another great man. He was a member of Sinn Féin, but he's a staunch Catholic and a pro-life, and has his own party now, Ain Too. And he's a great voice for the pro-life cause in the Dáil. There's very few of those of that calibre, but he's one of them, and he's this party, Ain Too, which he founded. And he has some councillors now that was elected to the county council in the last elections for the county council, and hopefully he will go on to strength. Now, I know he's had a health issue recently with some cancer on his head, and hopefully he will be cured and he won't suffer, because we need people like him to speak out for those that have no voice.
J.P. McManus.
J.P. McManus, well, he was good. There was a few of them involved, him and other ones, and they sponsored races and that, and they've put Ireland on the map as regards horses and things like that. So I think he's from Donegal originally, and he did great work, and so I'm kind of fond of him in some ways. And like, they did great work for the horse industry in this country, and for the good name that it has internationally, and so that's a great achievement.
You've done great work as well. I think it's Adair. Is it Adair?
Correct, Adair. Yeah, the hotel.
Yeah,
that's world famous.
Yeah,
and there's a golf course there. Adair is a village that is one best village in the country, and I was in it, and stayed in it. Mm-hmm. I know it kind of fairly well. customers.
He also has a reputation. I mean, he has a reputation, I suppose, as a gambler, but he has a reputation as being a charitable person as well.
Correct, and this is good. And we don't hear too much about him now. Only the ones that are the like of the ones that took over that marvellous Chuck Feeney. And what he did, the good that he did. And it's funny enough, there's always the danger that the evil ones will come in and gradually change the whole, what they stand for.
Mm-hmm. Michael O'Leary.
Michael O'Leary has to be congratulated also because he was an accountant. As a matter of fact, I know where he more or less started. He bought a shop in Walkerstown Cross, and I actually know it.
Michael O'Leary bought it?
Yeah, kind of a grocery shop, and he sold stuff at little above cost. He did a powerful business. Matter of fact, I think I supplied them with oodles of dog food, and it'll be cleared out. So that's what he did. And
so Michael O'Leary would have been a very young man then.
He would, but he was an accountant, but he had the gift of changing something that might have been just plodding along and making it successful. And he was headhunted by the owner of Ryanair.
Tony O'Reilly?
Not at all, no. He had nothing to do with it. He'd skip it or destroy it. Your man from the big house in Dublin, Castle. God almighty, I knew his name.
Tony Ryan?
No, Ryan.
Tony Ryan, I think it was.
Was it Ryan? Yeah, he started the airline, didn't he? What's Ryanair now? Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, did you say Ryan?
Tony Ryan.
Correct. Yes, that's right. Yeah, he wound up very successful. He was a former employee of Aer Lingus, Tony Ryan, and he went out, and so I think he started a hire business for aircraft first, but then he started Ryanair, and it was struggling, and he brought in Michael O'Leary to try and rescue it, and Michael O'Leary, being an accountant, wanted to close it. But Tony Ryan insisted that he go to America and check some of the airlines, the budget airlines that were successful there. And he did, and it opened O'Leary's eyes. And so he started expanding Ryanair with Boeing. He was able to do a deal with them being an accountant. And so Ryanair now is one of the biggest airlines in the world. Wow. Thanks to Tony Ryan's far-seeing vision. And that O'Leary, although he was a chartered accountant, he had the vision as well to see the possibility, and he's still in charge, and is unusual the way he talks about the airline business, and he's admired.
He is indeed. I suppose, look, he brought low-cost air travel to millions of people.
Correct, and long may he continue.
Yeah. Dermot Desmond, Financial Services Centre.
By the way, I knew his father and his brother. They were in the dog food business.
Who?
His Michael O'Leary's father and mother. They're from near Mullingar.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you knew them as well.
I did. Yeah. They used to produce a sort of pig's heads or stuff like that, whatever it was. But it was good.
What do you mean pig's heads?
Well, there were like lumps of
moles.
Yeah, there were lumps of stuff that they were kind of dehydrated, and they were good for animals, and they did quite a business, and they supplied a lot of stores that I supplied.
Okay.
Which were stores that would be independent and pro-stocking Irish products, unlike the multiples, the ones now that dominate the grocery trade. They despise anything Irish, in my opinion, no matter what they say.
Dermot Desmond's Financial Services Centre.
Well, he did a lot for Ireland, to put it on the map internationally. As being an entrepreneur, and that, I think, contributed to the perception of Ireland as a good place for business to locate, which is why I think we have an awful lot of these American multinationals.
Especially the banking sector.
In the banking sector, yes, and also in the like of all these multinationals now that we have here that give great employment in the internet, in the internet companies, all those ones.
Mm-hmm. Pat McDonagh, that'd be a Supermax.
He was great as well. He was, I think, a lecturer. He was a teacher, I think. But he had vision, and he started this Supermac, I think, in Tuam. He's from Tuam. And it went on to be very successful. And so he gave a lot of employment, and also the food that he produces would be produced here. So he would have been good for the food industry as well, good for local employment. And his products are quite good compared with the multinational McDonald's, the other people in that line of business, that more famous, more world renowned. But he's done good, and he deserves great honours for to do what he did.
Okay, Sean Gallagher.
Sean Gallagher had to be admired as well. He went for the presidential election and was going to be elected, but he was shafted by this television personality. What do you call him?
Pat Kenny.
Aye, Pat Kenny. Because I don't listen to him or what's anything to do with it, whatever he has to do with. He shafted him with false information that was on this late show. And poor Gallagher, when the show was being proposed, and it was just supposed to be him and whoever was the next runner, and he wanted the other ones in, so he made a bad mistake about that because he was shafted by your man from Sinn Féin. What was his name? The fellow from
Martin McGuinness, was it?
Aye, Martin McGuinness. And then he was someone that was in the audience made allegations, and somebody rang in, so Pat Kenny shafted him, if you like, and he might have been elected and given great impetus. But you see, this is the control freakery that we have in this country. If anything kind of good is liable to happen, who they have in mind to be a kind of perhaps anti-Catholic, the president we have, this Mr. Higgins, he would be left of left. He'd be damn near a communist. He was a great supporter of Cuba and dictatorships of that kind. He would have been never my choice as president. It would have been Sean Gallagher, which I think I voted for when he did go.
So Brody Sweeney was he's the founder of O'Brien's Irish Sandwich Bars, right? And he opened his first restaurant in Henry Street. He was on the Late Show, and he said that he learned that on Henry Street people don't eat, and I knew that before he ever opened the shop there, right?
Yes.
People don't eat on Henry Street. They don't. If you have a restaurant on the ground floor, it'll fail on Henry Street because people like to shop there. They want to get out of there, just get their bargains and they go, right? So what he done was he opened the shop there, and he realised that people on Henry Street, he says, wanted 3 sandwiches for €1, right? Whereas when he moved to Grafton Street, he realised that people in Grafton Street wanted 1 sandwich for €3. And that's when he realised it was an upmarket concept. And so he went on to open all these other sandwich bars.
He did, yeah. Well, he sort of brought competition to Irish-made products, and that was good. You had McDonald's, that's the one I was trying to think of a while ago when we were talking about Supermac. He did good. He gave another outlet for Irish products, and this is what is to be encouraged. I don't know how he's doing now with O'Brien's, if they're still going, because we've had such changes and all the rest of it in business that they wouldn't know who's at what now or who's producing.
I think he is. I think he's still going. There's still a few bars. O'Brien's Irish.
Well, I hope so, because it was a great concept, and the fact that it was Irish and the goods in it was Irish made, and perhaps and it was advertised as well, I think. So it had benefits. Anything to do that's producing Ireland has added on benefits more than just the particular thing. The ingredients and the meat in the products is made here, and that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. Peter Casey, Irish presidential election candidate.
Well, he was a voice for those that don't have a voice. He was an outsider, and he did very well.
And he also runs a very successful recruitment company.
Well, there you are, you see, and I think he was on some of these programmes where they entertain people that have ideas and will put money into them. And to me, he was the best type of entrepreneur that the country has. He put his name forward, and he would have been a great president. He would have attracted business like nobody.
He's also someone that you'll see at the graduation ceremonies in Trinity College, UCC, all the different universities. You'll see him hanging around there trying to get the best talent while they're fresh off the ramp.
Exactly.
Smart lad, yes.
Yeah, but sometimes, the fella that comes down the list often has more of an insight into business than the guy with all the qualifications, because yours truly just had his leaving cert, but had an eye for business. Yeah, and an eye for what would be important. And so you don't have to be top of the tree academic wise. You can have you want to survive and prosper if you can.
Now here's a very, very interesting actress, Saoirse Ronan, right?
Yes.
Do you know her at all?
I do.
Yeah. She's lovely. She's a very angelic, very funny, very attractive, very charismatic and very natural person. And the Americans absolutely love her because she doesn't put on an accent. She just has an Irish accent. And
which
when
is
she
great.
Speaks, they all think it's great.
Of course it is, because and she's well able to talk and have good ideas. I think she's a practicing Catholic, and which is great, because when you have that foundation, then you speak with some form of decency and sincerity. It's not just what I call gobbledygook. Just on that subject, we were talking about a programme that you sent me a video about it. Two actors, Michael Douglas and the other fella, what's his name? That other actor that was in it. Was a video.
What now?
On a video about Michael Smurfit, and they were being interviewed. They're all older folks now, and they were being interviewed about what way they felt as being older and that. And
sorry, you're talking about Michael Douglas and Robert De Niro, is it?
Aye, Robert De Niro, that's the individual.
We'll be talking about them later on, yeah.
Oh, right, I'll just digress there.
So I'll move on anyway. Gavin Friday, he was my neighbour. He's Bono's best friend, and he's actually a very good musician, probably very underrated. He described his music in the old days anyway as avant-garde.
Yeah.
But he's moved on to a more pop sound. But he's quite interesting. He's a very charismatic man, and I like Gavin Friday. He's one to watch it. He works for you too at the moment. Fergal Quinn.
Oh, he was good. Fergal was his father was an organiser of Pay and Take, kind of a brand name for smaller supermarket, smaller shops that went kind of self-service, and he was quite good. Piggy bank they called him. I'm telling a lie. It wasn't Piggy Bank, was it? No, that was another crowd. It was a Piggy Bank, but anyways, he did that, and then he opened a holiday camp. His father, Red Island holiday camp, copying Butlins, and it was successful for a bit. But and he had in Bray, he had a house going up to the summit, and people used to go up to it.
Really?
Yeah, it was
How
very
long ago
popular.
are you talking about? Because I was often at that summit you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
With the cross. Is that the one?
Correct.
Okay. And I often thought...
And that was erected. I think he had something to do with that. And he brought him up to the summit. And I don't know if there was a restaurant up there or something like that. So he was a great one for bringing things. And I think, I don't know what happened at it. The health and safety stick their snout into it and say something about it. But because I was up in it.
What year would you be talking about?
Well, I think you were talking about 60s, 70s type of thing.
And you're telling me there was a hoist, like.
There was, people could sit in the thing and maybe hoist it up. Maybe 6 could sit in it.
And how long would it take you to get to the top of the summit?
About 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Because it's a fair climb.
Oh, it was, yeah, it went up. But terrible to see that it was then discontinued for some reason.
So you were saying that there was a restaurant at the top of the summit?
I think that there was. Because I was up in it, and I went up in this, up the mountain. You see, sometimes you see these ones in other countries that take people up. And this one took people up. It was marvellous. And it was a shame that it ever was disbanded, and probably the Lincoln Health and Safety crowd had something to do with it. Okay. They want to close everything because you do nothing with them. PJ
Gallagher, he's an Irish comedian, a big following with young people, and a very, very, very funny man. You know, he's excellent, I think. Sister Stanlis Kennedy, she done a lot of charity work.
She did.
You know,
she was well known, and she looked after people that had difficulties in their life of one kind or another, and she was good.
Miriam O Callaghan, she's a good role model for women. I think she's had 6 or 7 children. She's had a lot of children.
She's had 7 or 8.
She still manages to have a career.
She was married twice.
Yeah, so she's a good role model for women.
She was married to a guy that had a program in IT in RTE. I can't think of his blinking name. And then don't know who else that she married, but she lives in Stillorg, and she was good. And as a matter of fact, she worked on Newsnight one time, the BBC, and she was very capable and the rest of it. And she had a kindly manner. And then she had a kind of an evening show at the weekend, and she was always very good, I thought.
Yeah. A.D. Roach, Babies of Chernobyl.
She was, yeah. She was a presidential candidate. She's doing good for people that suffered with this business of the Russian explosion of Chernobyl, and caused a lot of harm to animals as well. So Katie was good.
Okay. Ben Scallon, Gripped, the YouTube channel.
Well, Gripped, at least, it's another outlet for the Catholic point of view. I think when you're presenting a programme of that calibre, an older, experienced person of life is more suitable than the younger person. The younger persons, we hear a lot of them on RTE, and really they're wet behind the ears, in my opinion. In order to speak on these programmes, I think maturity comes into play.
I think you could be right there. Herman Kelly.
Herman Kelly, is he the founder of the
Irish Freedom Party?
Yeah, well, he's good. He was originally an editor of the Irish Catholic.
Oh, was he?
He was,
yeah. That, no.
So he'd be a Catholic, and then he become the press secretary for the Farage, whatever they called themselves in Europe. They were anti-Europe, so he would be in favour of the sovereignty of Ireland, rather than being stuck in the big global structure that are dictating what they can do and what they can't do. And it's for the sake of money and perhaps other things that Ireland are in it, and open up markets. But we're going to be paying more into it now with Britain left. We're going to be paying an extra 4 or 5 billion a year than what we're getting out. And now the way the country is being run, and with this business of this virus, and we're continuously having it isolated and people not able to go anywhere or travel, this is a very dangerous thing for any country. And if we weren't in the EU, I wonder would we be in that situation.
Okay, I'm just going to move on to Gemma O'Doherty.
Gemma O'Doherty, I admire Gemma. She's a spokesman for those that haven't got a voice to speak, but she's attacked by the modern secular groupthink in the media, and elsewhere. But she's a voice for a lot of people that admire her. And I do, because she's sticking up for what's right.
I suppose there's one thing you can certainly say about Gemma O'Doherty. She's brave.
Correct, and it's marvellous, and I admire her. And keep it up, Katie.
Okay.
Don't be bullied by the bullies.
Adam Clayton. Adam Clayton is the bass player with U2. He's probably one of my favourite members of U2. He's very. He did have his problems with depression and drugs and the whole lot, but he cleaned up his act, and he's become a very solid, very mature type of man, and he's a joy to listen to when he speaks. So
that's good. Is he pro-life and pro-Catholic? Is he?
I don't actually know. I don't know.
Well, you see, you have to have that. If you haven't got a spiritual foundation, then you're lost.
Yeah. So Daniel O'Donnell. Daniel O'Donnell has led a very clean life. He's very religious. There's a Bible in every room in the hotel up in Donegal, or was.
Yeah, well, he was a force for good, and very popular. And there again, often was kind of half criticised by the secular type media that were saddled with in every country and in the press. But he's very popular, and very popular abroad as well, in the US, and a tremendous amount of audiences abroad, and his concerts are packed out. I think I heard one of them, and it was very good. Yeah. I was at one of them, and I must say he's been a great talent and a great promoter of things Irish, and shown a side of that side of Ireland that was admired down the years.
Yeah. Ardal O'Hanlon, Father Ted. He's come up quite a lot. He's come up as much almost as the winner. Go. Okay.
Well, he was good, and he's from Carrickmacross. I knew his father. He was a doctor, and they're from Carrickmacross, and I think he's living there too. But he was quite good and understated, and kind of a priest that wasn't quite sure what he was at. Very good, and a good actor, and comedy. If you like, funny enough. Things like that, even though they might have been criticised by the more rigid brigade, it does show a human side. Father Ted, and he was father, wherever he was, but they were always at 6s and 7s and all the rest of it. But a very popular programme, and I think I liked it, and I kind of understood because I met those type of people in my time.
Okay, yeah. Darragh O'Brien, he's a presenter. I think it was Don't Feed the Gondolas, or there was some programme he was on years ago, but I don't watch much.
Is he a TD?
No, he's a presenter on one of the programmes.
There's another fellow with the same name that's a TD.
Could be. Anyway, he's a nice person. He's quite funny, and so
yeah,
someone nominated
him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, John Connors. John Connors is very outspoken. I think he's from the travelling community, and he said that all Irish politicians are psychopaths.
Well,
wouldn't be far off.
No. Well, you see, there are some good ones, and I think the two Kerry ones, Danny and Healy Ray, we'll speak about them some other way, but I just mentioned them, and the lad Matty McGrath. It'd be good, and now there's Toibin, not what do you call him? There's a couple of other ones. There's the lad from Navan. We spoke about him, and there's a few. And there's that marvellous Senator Ronan Mullin. We'll speak about these later on. But there are good voices to be heard. In a place where there's a terrible secular anti-Catholic brigade now stuck in our Dáil. They would have had a home in the British Parliament that did the same thing, and they're at the same racket, undermining the system that we had that stood by us for years.
Okay, and so the winner is. Do you want to announce the winner?
What is it, Katie Taylor?
It's Katie Taylor, and the reason it's Katie Taylor is because Katie Taylor was the one that was constantly mentioned in all the groups I'd done the research on, right?
Yeah.
And then Ardlo Hanlon was coming up second. He was mentioned lots of times because people like him. They think it's funny. I suppose we're in COVID times.
Carrick McCross on the map. Well, that's good.
Then,
but one of the ones that I'd sort of have to mention is Katie Ascough. She'd be my number one.
She'd be your number one.
Ascough.
I suppose my number one would have to be Chuck Feeney. And the reason being that he has given away all his wealth. He's built a university, and if you remember back in the 1980s, I think Limerick University was built, and he wouldn't allow them to say where the money was coming from.
He
kept quiet about it. He didn't want to be. He didn't want.
Well done. I think I'd agree with you there. He wasn't seeking publicity and look how good I am.
Yes,
he was actually the typical person that doesn't want his good deeds to be known.
Yeah.
Correct.
So any business person, for me, any business person that does charitable work in society is a winner.
Correct.
But the people have chosen Katie Taylor, and it's a great choice because she's a great boxer and she's doing great for Ireland.
She is, and on top of that, she lives a very good life. There's no scandal there. She's not going down any bad road. She's a staunch Christian of the Pentecostal variety, and that's good to be a practicing Christian like that, giving great example, and which she does.
She does indeed.
She has to be admired, and I do admire her for that. And it's a tough sport, but funny enough, when I was young, boxing was a great pastime, and I used to collect boxers. Bruce Woodcock was one fella, and Rinty Monaghan was another. He was a flyweight, and I think he was European champion. Rinty Monaghan, and then of course we'll speak about these later on, of course.
Yeah,
isn't that right?
Yes.
And so these ones, and funny enough, Rinty then turned out to be a singer, and there was a concert up in Bundoran, I think, one time, where Rinty was yowling. Now, mind you, you wouldn't advertise, but he had a bit of a band, and it was good. So we had a variety when I think of it. It was marvellous. I'll be referring to these things.
So anyway, look, the list, for anybody who's interested, I think I mentioned it at the beginning of this. The list is going to be in the description of the video. There's about 86 nominees there, and there's a lot of very, very good people in Ireland. I didn't realise there would be that many, but there is. We could do with a few more.
We could, and I'd say they're still there, but they mightn't be getting the publicity that they weren't.
Or maybe they don't want it.
Correct, because
there could be a few Chuck Feeneys out there.
I think that's right. There's people that doesn't really want publicity; they just want to do it below the radar. And funny enough, that's the way to do it. But then sometimes you do have to let things be known a bit either as well, that there is that kind of goodness out there. Because there's a lot of the other sort of anti-life business out there. There's a lot of evil out there, unfortunately, that has been introduced to this country, and I've mentioned it before, abortion and all the rest of it. And now they're talking about bringing in euthanasians and assisted suicide. Some Green Party members come out with that, and then another one has come out with the business of, I know Sinn Féin, I think, has come out with that. Green Party's come out with the water charges.
Yeah, sure. Look, we'll cover all
those.
We
will, yeah. But I'm just mentioning that the ones that we were spoken about there, and there's others that have done marvellous work, and long may to continue, even if it's below the radar. That's what I love to hear.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver.